Back to another virtual town hall. This is town hall number 8. And listen, guys, we have some amazing panelists about to bring that fire. So here's what I need for you to do. I need for you to go ahead and share this link. Remember, we are streaming on YouTube. We are on Periscope, which is Twitter. I don't know who's on Periscope, but we streaming to Periscope. Maybe we'll catch 1 to 2 people. But we are streaming on Facebook Live right now. So make sure you click, you share this link. We don't know who lives will be changed from this conversation tonight. If there's a young person, right, and he's in the valley of decision, he don't understand his purpose. Maybe he had a terrible week this week. Get him in. He can actually log into his phone and watch this live right now. This is very critical. And then, of course, guys, we are streaming on Twitch. So I want to say this before we do our intros. Yesterday, I'm talking about my heart was torn to pieces. You want to know why? Because I went to a vigil for a 1-year-old baby boy shot and killed here in Chicago and Inglewood. I went to the vigil. I was invited by a good brother named Billy Moore. Some of you probably heard of Billy Moore. He said, man, we'd love to have you here at this vigil. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. It was the hardest thing in the world for me to get my physical body present to be there. And to see the mother and the father crying because their 20-month, listen to what I just said, 20-month baby was shot and killed on the streets of Chicago, only to find out this is our 6th or 7th child killed over the past week in our city. It lets me know that no matter what we have accomplished, no matter what we have done, it's still not enough. And so our chant was enough is enough. In terms of the guns, the violence, right? And we have perpetrators staying in the communities where people are not vocalizing who these individuals are shooting these guns. And listen to me, guys. People may be wondering why we still having these conversations. These conversations should not ever stop that we're having tonight. So I'm going to introduce my brother, Reverend Briscoe. Reverend Briscoe, come on in, brother.
Hey, what's happening? We want to welcome everyone to Champs Town Hall Thursdays, hard conversations for necessary transformations. My name is Tony Briscoe, aka The Endurer. I am happy to be here on tonight. Last Thursday, we had our Champs call, Town Hall. After that call, 2 hours later, I received a phone call that my nephew was shot in Arizona. He did succumb to that wound. And so, you know, I take the work that we do very serious. And it just happened to be our time to deal with this type of tragedy. But this is also coming off the week. One of our mentees was also shot 4 times, escorting a family member to their car to make sure that she and her children got there safely. So my week ended rough, still going through. But I'm grateful for the prayers of Chicago. I'm grateful for the prayers of my Noble family, my Champs family, my Poet family, and my Facebook family. So I'm grateful all around for that. And mourning life is no joke, man. It's pretty tough. But this is why these town halls are necessary. And so I am grateful to have here a group of distinguished gentlemen who we're going to engage in conversation on tonight. So we're going to start off our introductions with Brother Carl, and we're going to make our way through, and then we're going to get into some hard conversations for necessary transformations.
All right. Peace to everybody, man. Just glad to be here. My name is Carl Kemp. I'm the Director of Student Services for the Common Ground Foundation, and I felt it was very necessary to be a part of this panel because that's exactly what we need. We need to have the conversation and the dialogue. We have to keep it going so that we can create that change, and just hoping that somebody listening today gets a word from somebody on this panel that will allow them to continue on and move forward. So just an honor to be here, and I look forward to the discussion.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Mobley. I am a native of Chicago, Illinois. I'm also a former student of Gary Coleman College Prep. Right now, I'm an undergraduate student at Loyola University Chicago, and I also intern as a deal desk strategist at LinkedIn Chicago. Outside of that, I also serve on the board of the Noble Alumni Association, organization responsible for fostering relationships between Noble alumni who are in their career, who are in college, or those who are aspiring to go back to school or looking for a career.
Brother Hannibal, on you.
So my name is Hannibal Hereford. I am currently the CEO and lead servant of Free Breakfast Apparel, which is a clothing line, but also a movement. We direct a lot of as much of our revenues and profits as we can into charitable giving and community outreach. And I'm not a Chicago native, but I've lived in Chicago since '05. And above all, I believe in service. I don't believe anybody is coming to save us. I don't want them to come save us because we have everything we need to save ourselves. That is all.
What's going on, good people? I'm Jamal Thomas. I'm a native of actually Gary, Indiana. My former role actually led me to Chicago. I was working for a school out there, and it led me to build It's a Vibes, which stands for Investing Students Striving for Their Aspirations. Vibes. As my man said before, these are all movements that we are trying to create to empower our people. And essentially, I wanted to narrow my focus on building wealth and paying my knowledge for it as I learn, apply, and make mistakes, but remain steadfast to the journeys of being curious and disciplined in life. And I just wanted to share that. And that's like the main heart of this organization. And that's me.
I think it's on me.
Yes,
my
sir.
name is Kristen Watkins. I am a Dayton native by way of Columbus, Ohio. Currently, I serve as program specialist for the Montgomery County Male Leadership Academy. We are a newly rolled out county initiative here in Dayton, Ohio, where we seek to offer young men ages 14 to 16 access to career awareness, educational activities, and cultural exposure. We do that by providing a hybrid mentorship model where we put young men in one-on-one mentorship relationships with highly reputable and successful executives. And we offer group mentorship for the young man, whether it be conversations about finances, social emotional development, or just camaraderie and brotherhood. So we love what we do. We know that this work is necessary. Without question, I feel blessed and privileged to be on this call with a bunch of other world changers.
Hello, my name is Walter Mendenhall. I'm the Executive Director of the Male Mogul Initiative. The Male Mogul Initiative seeks to possibly transform the way young men live and lead in their communities through leadership and entrepreneurship development. What we do is we'll be going to the schools for a leadership development, basically giving them 3 questions to answer. Who are you? Why do you matter? And what's your purpose? After we discover those 3 questions, we have after school program, which helps take these young men's ideas and turn them into businesses. And during the summer, we actually have storefronts. So young men can learn to operate and manage their own businesses. So this summer, we actually have a retail store, we have a convenience store, and we're actually growing and doing a farmer's market on a weekly basis. So currently we have 12 young men from the south and west sides of Chicago that are hired, and looking forward to a positive and proactive summer.
All right, thank you. Brother Mashawn. You're on mute, brother. Unmute yourself for us, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marshawn Hamilton II. I am the executive director for a program called Guy Talk Buffalo. It is concentrated specifically on the educational advancement of men of color in higher education. And I'm sure you all know there's a 30 to 40% graduation rate nationally with men of color, and about 40% in this area. And we designed a program based upon, honestly, the outcry of the students who are in the predominantly white institution and who desire to be mentored, or desire to, really be just led correctly within the time of their higher education, achieving that degree. It can be very, very difficult, as a man of color in a PWI, predominantly white institution. So we developed pillars of success. We teach financial literacy, education, relationships. We brought in some great professionals who were able to serve, and we brought a series, and we continue to do that since 2017. Our goal, again, is number one, graduation. And since then, we've helped about 30 young men graduate who are working in the field of engineering, in the field of business, education. Some are in school now to become dentists. Some are in school to become lawyers. And so we are thankful for the impact that God has allowed us to make. And now we're looking to reach the next generation, young generation, to let them know that there's another way you can go, that these are great opportunities for you to pursue, just like these gentlemen did. And so it's really about supportive services, wrapping our arms around them with support that they need to succeed at the level they're at, and also to go to the next level, and then to turn around and give it back to the community. And so I'm honored to serve in that capacity. It's www.guytalkbuffalo.com is our website where you can check us out. And I'm looking forward to this town hall meeting tonight.
All right, great. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? I think we got everybody on intro. So great. We're doing great on time. So let's kick it off with a question. I'll start off with a Facebook question because I like Facebook questions when they come across. Or this is a statement. And Carl, I want you to jump right in, and you guys jump right in behind Carl. The statement on Facebook this week, just in a regular post: the biggest failure of the education system is not teaching our kids about credit. To which somebody replied, "That's your mama and your daddy job." Carl, I know it's a funny comment, but when I saw it, I was like, I have not talked to my daughter about this side of finance. Talk to us, Carl. What are your thoughts on that statement, and then the response that somebody made?
Yeah, I think the statement is warranted. I think it's a valid statement. The comment actually is just as warranted, right? I think the answers come from both sides, right? As an educational institution, I think there should be some curriculum to teach us or teach our students about, just economics and finance and the power of finance as a whole. But similar to everything else that's taught in the schools, if you don't have the support coming from the household, then it loses its value, right? So I can teach you something in school, but if you're not modeling it, or if you don't have the model at home, it kind of loses its steam. So, I mean, again, it was funny to me, but it actually holds some weight. And I think, that is a conversation that your parents should have, but if I'm keeping it honest, some parents can't have that conversation with their children because they themselves don't know, the importance of credit, or even have credit to speak to. They can speak to, bad credit. Some can speak to good credit, but it's a conversation that they may not feel comfortable in having because they didn't have it. They don't have the foundation themselves to even, put forth that information to the students or the children.
Excellent. Before I get to you, Hannibal, Michael, you're in college right now, so I'm wondering what your take is on that, and based off of Carl's response, like, how do you feel like you were empowered and equipped with these questions? Because typically college kids get a lot of credit card offers. So talk to us about your experience.
Similar to Carl's point, I feel like the former statement was extremely warranted. I didn't learn about credit until I got to college. Didn't know how to build it, didn't know the ins and outs, didn't know the breakdown, the percentages of what factors into what, and really learn how to strategize on how to build my credit. And partially because that my parents didn't know. So I think to me, honestly, I do think it should start at school. I feel like that is the inception point of socializing children, for one. And like you said, if your parents don't know, then how can they learn? And honestly, it was something missing in your parents' upbringing too, where that gap was there as well. So luckily, I learned about credit before I got myself into any deep holes. So, awesome. But unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't until I got to college, which was a good 18 plus years down the line.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Hannibal, go ahead. You want to just jump right in?
Sure. So a couple background points. I hold a finance degree. I've been running my own business for 6 years, and I've also declared bankruptcy. So I know all about credit, left and right. One of the things that I learned in business school was that the institutions and the companies that are extended the most credit, they are the ones that have the least need for it. They are the ones that have the strongest income streams. For instance, ComEd can borrow as much money as ComEd wants because they have an income stream that's this wide. All these people paying all these electric bills. So the point I'm trying to make is this: I disagree with teaching kids about credit specifically in school to a point, because I think the overall should be financial management and financial, because there's a lot of aspects about finances, not just credit. I mean, there's working a budget, there's living within your means, there's diversifying your income streams, there's there's a lot to finances. I can tell you this: I got horrible credit, and I'm not even trying to fix it. I'm gonna tell you why. Because in 2020, if you have a strong enough income stream, you don't need good credit to borrow money. I'm gonna give you an example. I am currently paying off a $20,000 loan. I paid $3,000 on it last month. Now I don't even pay the loan off. They take the money. So I primarily distribute via e-commerce. So I get, money coming in from PayPal, and then I get daily deposits to my bank account. So the people who loaned me the 20 racks, that was the e-commerce platform. That was a company called Shopify. They're one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in the game. They loan you money based upon your sales, not your credit. So I'm saying that to say this: when people say, you got to have good credit to borrow money, that ain't true. I don't have good credit, but I did borrow this money, and I was able to borrow 20K because last year I borrowed 7 and I paid it back like that. Well, they took the money back like that. So the point, so again, just to kind of circle back around, yes, introduce kids to the concept of credit and managing your credit and not going into debt and not becoming a debt slave, because that's what debt is: slavery.
Yeah. So I think the consensus overall is a level of financial literacy needs to be taught, which could include credit inside of the curriculum. I got it. Thank you for that. So let's hit some hard stuff, gentlemen. What are the areas of opportunity that can forge youth forward into deeper levels of success? Mr. Watkins.
I appreciate that, Reverend Briscoe. So this is a conversation that I feel like needs to be had. Obviously, with the climate that we currently are living in, there are a lot of areas of growth and growing edges that we can make good on and leverage. With the youth that we serve, I see a few areas of opportunity with them. One thing that I know they need and could grow and build off of is able and available, reputable mentors, right? And so obviously with the work that I do, it seems like it would be easy for these young men to find reputable young older men of color, or reputable, relatively young adult men of color who want to invest in their futures. But that's just not always the case for them. A lot of the young men that we serve, about 90%, are in, which don't represent the general population, but in our population, about 90% of them are in female-led homes or single-parent homes and have not had the access to a reputable, good, hardworking man. So that's one of the things that I feel like is a growing edge in an area of opportunity for young men: able and available. Like, we have some guys who are able, they just don't have the time or don't take the time or carve out the time to invest in a young man. Kind of to Mr. Hannibal's point, if you have that type of specialized knowledge, being able to transfer that to a young man before he gets to college and say, hey, when you on that campus and they have that little table set up with the blanket over it and they're trying to get you to get a credit card, you need to have this specialized information and knowledge so you don't fall into some of the same pitfalls that I did. I fell into it. So my job as a mentor and leader within the community is to make sure that as many young men that I see do not fall into those same pitfalls and areas that I fell into. So we need able and available mentors. Another one that I thought of just off the top of my head, which we don't see a lot of during this time, actually in our local school district, a lot of the funding for arts is being taken away. I feel like arts is a huge area of opportunity for inner city young men. I'm a natural musician, been playing music my entire life. I feel like music in some ways saved my life. When I was wanting to hang out with my boys, I did the dirt and hung out with them, but I was wanting to get back home and get on the drums and bang out on the drums and annoy my parents playing all loud in the garage because it was cathartic and it helped me relieve some of the mental pressure that I couldn't articulate simply through words. So I feel like arts is another area of opportunity, showing young men how to write, how to journal, how to draw, how to develop a skill that they could at some point in life monetize in some way. So arts is a huge area of opportunity for young men. I had a couple different areas I just wanted to hit on as well. Community is another one, and I'm gonna run over these really quickly. These young men need community. Research proves that a large majority of young people who are committing suicide commit suicide for one of two reasons. Either they feel like a burden to the people that they're around, or they do not have a sense of belonging. So either they feel like a burden and they're like, man, I'm making somebody else's life harder or more cumbersome, or they feel like they do not belong. And so being able to foster that atmosphere of community for young men, whether it's a group like what Champs is doing, is phenomenal because it gives you community. You see somebody else wearing the shirt with the Champs logo on there. You all have the same chant. You have the same lingo, the same ideas. You're kind of moving in the same way. It's like, I belong, even if I've been, absolutely, even if I'm not part of a familial structure that's solid, I have family and brotherhood here. And those things go such a long way just for the psyche of a young man growing up in a world where you can feel completely by yourself. So creating community is largely important. Reverend Briscoe, what you do, I don't know if you're a pastor, but what you do is extremely important as well. I believe that some type of revitalization of the local church and local community centers will be vital to the progress and advancement of the modern day young man as well. The local church kind of gaining that traction back as a pillar and an influential presence within the community, I feel like that is next level. And it seems like an old school idea, but it actually has so much relevant value where you start to build back up that family where the young man has a place to go. I remember going to vacation Bible schools over the summer to keep me out of trouble. Even if my friends weren't into it, they had somewhere to go within that community just to share with their brothers, share with their cousins. So that local community on the micro level and on the macro level is going to be very, very important and vitally important to the success. And then the last one, somebody can build on this after I'm done. I believe education is the ultimate equalizer. Education is the ultimate equalizer, whether it's formal education or it's just act of learning from somebody who has a specialized knowledge in a particular area, whether it's in finance, whether it's in music, whether it's in speaking, whether it's in education, whether it's in a certain career path, teaching young men to get back to enjoying education. In high school, when I was growing up, I almost flunked out of high school. I came into my junior year with about a 3.8 GPA, but because I wanted to fit in with my boys and because being smart at that time seemed lame, I almost didn't graduate high school just so I could say, oh man, I'm like one of the guys, I'm like one of the boys. But I want to, and I fully believe in normalizing and encouraging Black intelligence, where young men know that it's not lame to be brilliant. It's actually hot, it's dope, it's the way to go to be brilliant. Being as you possibly can be is the best thing that you can do for your life because it pays great dividends in the future. So encouraging young men to get back into the idea of valuing education on a high level is, I believe, one of the key areas that will help us start to advance and move that needle even just slightly. So those are the three areas: arts, community, education.
Great.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like everything that you said. And that last part, I just want to build on about education, because that's actually one of the things that I'm focused on as it relates to the whole vision of It Survives, is that self-actualization and financial education is true education for self-preservation. So what you're saying
I
right
love it.
now is essentially what we all need to kind of like put our minds around, to really understand how do we intrinsically engage with ourselves in order to like get exactly what you said. And I think one of the things that I want to add to your list is maybe a challenge to some of the parents and just some of the educators out here. Like, we have to teach our youth like the stake that they hold in all of our lives in all of these areas. I think my experience as an educator specifically, like, that's saying many messages to me. Kids genuinely don't know how to be a teenager. Kids genuinely don't know how to be an adult, let alone how to be a scholar. And these are things that we are trying to evolve them into, but they don't understand the delayed gratification that they will get from involving themselves and embracing these things that you're saying. So definitely, man, like, I think these are the ways that we do. And I think that other piece that, again, just to add, is that intrinsic piece. How do we get the kids to see it? And how do we get our village that we build in to actually name the stake that they hold in all of our lives?
Great, thank you. So I'm going to pivot based off what's been said by Mr. Watkins and Mr. Thomas. I'm going to pivot to Brother Mendenhall. What is it that we need to do then economically to build our own communities based off the factors that they just shared?
Yeah, those are all good points. I just think, and the reason why I'm just so passionate about entrepreneurship and leadership development is just that I feel that it's applicable to every facet of your life. Anything you want to be is going to be business. I even teach my young people to think of your life as a business, understanding things like risk and reward, understanding things like, investing. Investing in yourself. You're going to school, you're getting an education, you're investing in yourself for a brighter future. And the young people that I've been around, a lot of the times why they make mistakes is usually because of finances. They don't have something, so they're going to do whatever they need in order to get it. And what the Male Mogul tries to do, and what the Male Mogul has been successful in doing, is offering young people a avenue to acquire and create your own wealth. I've had young men, Male Mogul actually started with a young gentleman at the west side of Chicago, went there for a career day. Great young man, honor roll student, played basketball, very, very well respected in his school, but he sold drugs in order to get the things that he wanted. And after that conversation with him, I realized, I was just like, how many young men in this city, in this nation, have the gifts, the talents, the hustle to be successful entrepreneurs, but not necessarily the exposure and the access. And that's what the Male Mogul seeks to do. And we are very big into experiential learning. So the box stores that we're setting up, the storefronts, now they're seeing it. Now they're seeing it's applicable. Now they're seeing, they're telling their boys that, they own a store. Now they boys want to get on. And I think that's how you begin to change the culture. Money is cool. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're getting legitimate money and you're creating it. And now you seeing young men with more self-worth. You're seeing young men more motivated to get education. You're seeing young men making connections between their future education, business, and now they're seeing like, okay, in order for me to continue to do this, I need to do this, and I need to be motivated to do this. And even in business, sometimes you got to do stuff that you don't want to do in order to get to where you need to get to. And that's the same thing with school. And I've just seen just the big impacts, major impacts, kids who, wasn't in school or, wasn't really doing anything, kids that were on the street that are now, going into college and now more motivated in their work. And I just really think, entrepreneurship, ownership of our communities, is the way that we are going to, make a difference. And I remember hearing something from, I think, Professor Anderson. He said in 1865, we had our freedom. 1965, it was the end of Jim Crow with the Voting Rights Act. And he said the only thing Black people don't have right now is economic freedom. And, it is my challenge and it is my goal, and along with a lot of other people, is to make sure we get that economic freedom, that we own our communities. And it starts with the young people.
All right. Thank you for that. Michael, I want to pivot to you because one, you're, I believe, the youngest person here. And then two, you're actively in college. And so I'm going to phrase this question in a way that may not seem exactly the best way to phrase it. But for your generation, where did my generation go wrong in raising?
Hey, it's a tough one.
It's a hard one to process.
Yeah.
You think about it, Carl. You're with the Common Foundation, so I want you to jump in and talk about this. Michael, I'll come back to you because I want you to think about it. Carl, I see you itching, man. Go for it.
I'd love a piece of that too.
Yeah, for real, for real.
I'll be honest with you. This is an honest moment. When you ask, like, where did we go? What happened? The disconnect is we were too stubborn as a generation to really listen to these young men and these young women to feel what it is they actually needed, right? So I talked about this in a post a while ago when I talked about there's a tolerated layer of like old ideas and thoughts and people who just don't want to get out of the way for us to evolve and to grow as a society and as a people. And so when you have that, you have a disconnect of the energy of the youth and the wisdom of the elders, right? When you put those two together, we can move anything. But if we don't listen to them to really understand what it is that they want and what it is that they need or what they're interested in, we try to put them in a box, right? And so it's like, if you don't do this exactly, then you're not going to be successful. If you don't do exactly what I tell you, then you're going to have failure. And that's not the way to do it. You don't stop a thoroughbred from running, right? They are built to succeed. These young men and women have been through so much that we couldn't even understand and fathom in their short lifespans, that they have this energy and they have this persistence. And it's like, you can't hold them back. You have to allow them to move, but you have to have the structures in place so that you can navigate them through, right? And so that's really, when I say the main disconnect that I feel, is that we've just been too stubborn as a generation to not allow them the voice, right? Because we got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth, which means what? We should hear and see more than we speak. So if we just pay attention to them and really understand what it is they're trying to give us, then we can use that experience that we have to kind of put them on a path to success. But if we just come in with this stubborn mindset of we know what's best, that's why we lose them. That's the disconnect. Because as soon as they feel like that, they don't feel heard, they don't feel engaged, they don't have a seat at the table. They're like, man, you the same thing I'm fighting, right? That's just my opinion.
Got you. So Mr. Hamilton, so I want you to weigh in here because you talked about being able to mentor students who were at predominantly white institutions, PWIs. And once you did it, you talked about the results of listening to their needs and what happened after that. So can you talk about that specifically? Why'd you listen? Why'd you take action? And what were the results of the listening and the action that you're seeing now?
Sure. I wanted to just say real quickly too, in regards to your question. So I noticed with Sidney Poitier, actually Harry Belafonte, who was Sidney Poitier's peer, he said, I heard him say in an interview, he said, we fought the fight to get our freedoms, but we didn't realize the resilience of our oppressors. And so I feel like if I look back at my life, during a time that, I was in college, my parents are baby boomers, okay? And so their generation had to fight, and the generation before them had to fight so we could have the freedoms that we have and liberties we have today. And I feel like there was a loss of intensity in the battle, if you will, over the past, let's say 15, 20 years. Now, this generation coming up of millennials, they're on another level at this. And they breed this. They love to, to challenge, and they love to, fight for their rights and their history. And so they're very passionate. And I see this amongst the students that I deal with. And so if I was to serve them and serve them properly, I couldn't do it without hearing them, without hearing what it was that they need. I know I was put there for a reason. So, I'm a person too. I love research. And I from my background experiences, having been an RA and everything, I'm kind of trained for this type of work. And so just hearing them, going to their meetings, you got to listen to them. You can't just do something. It's like a give and take. I have to give them something so they give me something. It's like a relationship that I found with them, and that type of relationship, that consistency with them knowing that they can trust you, and you giving them something at the same time they're giving you something. The bond happens, and it's something that just happens, and then you just work on that, and you continue to be consistent on your end, and the results are phenomenal. When we can develop that, and I do feel like, as Brother Kemp was saying, I feel like that baby boomer generation was very set, like, do what I say, don't ask no questions, especially their parents. And so there has to be a leniency now where these kids are, they're like, no, they're like, they want to have a voice, they want to, and that's because, as the Bible says, in my opinion, they become weaker and wiser. So we're dealing with that wiser. These kids are smart, and you got to show them ways to financial solutions. You can't take money out the picture, because you got to show them a track to how they can, successfully pursue education wisely, be valuable for them. And for some, it may be a trade, because they may not want to go to college and wait that long to get that level of money. And so we have to meet our kids where they're at.
Can I help Mike out? I think I got 4 words.
You can help us out. Help us out.
Taboo topics and implied assumptions are some of the things. But I'm kind of close to Mike's age. Actually, I'm only 4 years older than him. And one of those things that, it's, I think I'm walking in my gift, because this is something that I've been confused about myself. Like, how come, because of the way I look, or maybe the way I carry myself, people may think I know more than what I know. But until you actually talk to me, you don't understand that I'm really a student of life. I'm a student of everybody. I want to know what everybody on this call got to offer, because I genuinely don't know. I don't know nothing. Look, I'm trying to build an organization, learn how to trade, learn how to be an entrepreneur, give back to my community, all the things that everybody on this call is trying to do or are doing actually. And it's like, when I go out and I'm curious and I'm talking to adults, I get implied assumptions. And the other part is the taboo topics. Like my man was saying, like, yo, did I talk to my kids about credit? Well, if I was to go and ask my mom when I was a kid, like, yo, can I see your paycheck would you get this month? She'd be like, boy, like, you don't pay no bills around here. You don't get home somewhere to sit down somewhere. Like, we ain't paying bills. So that, again, the stakeholder part, like, we don't have no stake in these different compartments of the adult lives of the people that are taking care of it. So these become taboo topics. And then when we get older, our parents hadn't had these conversations. But when we go to school, and then when we get to college, all these conversations are being had without y'all. So now we got to create and build this perspective to start, unless we decide to start reading it and asking these questions, we got to kind of come up with this perspective from scratch, when the whole time you thought I knew, but I never knew. But you thought I knew because of the way I carried myself or the path that I was going. Then yeah, that's a word right there.
Okay, so I see Michael.
Sorry, you broke up there. What you said?
Michael, jump in.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, all the guys kind of hit of it. I think to touch back on Justin's point earlier, kind of having that sense of community. I feel like that was a big, at least I would speak personally, that was a piece that I was missing. And then also having tangible, I guess, demonstrations of success. I didn't have that. I didn't have that either. And for me, I knew about college, but I didn't know the importance of college. I just thought that it was just something to do as like the standard way, until, like Jamal said, until I got to college and I got around all these other like lost children in a sense, and we all, creating this perspective ourselves and realizing, oh, like this is what we're supposed to do, like this is where we're trying to go. And I think it was a disconnect too, to Carl's point, especially baby boomers, like even in the workforce. And I'm learning this now, being in the tech industry and kind of like shifting away from like corporate America. Corporate American can be, you got all these respectability politics. And I feel like there is a huge disconnect between that generation and millennials who are coming up. And it's just a different way how we express ourselves. And being in the tech industry, it's a little bit more lax. And I'm realizing that there is a space for people to kind of really, freely express themselves, have fun at work, and really enjoy themselves and still and progressing at their job. So I think kind of you fellas all kind of hit on like some very crucial points and some gaps that's been missing between the older generation and personally my generation. I would say my life experience.
You know what the biggest gap is? The biggest gap is they didn't create enough opportunity for us or these young people coming behind us, period. And let me tell you about these boomers, and my dad is included, and all these people, and they got a good reason for it. Like, they didn't have the internet. They didn't know the true nature of the world. They didn't know how wicked the beast is, okay? They got unions. They had good veterans programs that the kinks had been ironed out in the 70s and in the 80s. They used those VA funds, and they went to school. They got degrees. They got decent jobs, and they thought that it would be just as easy for us to do so, but it wasn't. And they didn't endeavor to be job creators. They did not create enough opportunity for the Black male who needs to see himself in the workplace. Okay, so now we got to go to this job, and we got to put code switch, and we got to make Whitey comfortable so we don't get fired because we haven't created enough safe spaces to earn our bread. That's really it in a nutshell.
That's heat.
Okay? Like, if enough of us decided, let me tell you one of my biggest problems with our people. We'll start a business, and as soon as we can feed ourselves, we pump the brakes. Instead of pushing and outside of our comfort zone and being tired and overworked to get through that point to where we can start hiring other people, scaling and hiring the people that are cut out of conventional employment channels. I don't know how many jobs I've been fired from because I was an unruly Negro, a field Negro on the job who saw workplace discrimination and said, hey, I see you all. You're not going to do this right in front of me. But if we created economic opportunities for our people and safe spaces for us to be Black and regular and normal, and where it's not criminalized, then we would not have double-digit unemployment even when we hold college degrees. That's the problem. How are young people supposed to respect us and listen to us when we don't do nothing for them, when they got to go to the white man just to pay the bills and get enough food to put food on to eat?
Come on, Hannibal.
We're in Chicago. There's 1 million Black people in Chicago. This segregation is criminal in its manifestation, but it is a logistical advantage. It is a logistical advantage. If we had Black businesses that primarily serve Black people, the logistics of accessing neighborhoods that are 90% Black are minimized because we are segregated. Do y'all hear me?
So what you're saying is we already actually have a Black Wall Street within our communities that are already 90%.
Yes, but instead of galvanizing and capitalizing and leveraging all that, we're just waiting on white people to give us an opportunity, to give us a job. And that has got to stop. We have to say, these Black kids coming behind us are our responsibility. We need to get them jobs. We need to create jobs for them. Not send them out into the world with an education so they can learn how to code switch and maybe get a job. Because let me remind you, there's 40 million Black people and 165 million white people in this country. And they don't particularly like working with us for the most part.
Right.
Am I lying?
You're not, but add to that. Here's the other piece. Here's the bookend to that. What have you been told though, right? Just take care of your house and everything will be okay, right? Just take care of your spot and you'll be straight. So that's the veil right there, because now it's like, okay, if I just take care of mine, then I should be okay. No, everybody didn't come up to be able to be taken care of. So that's why the whole concept of community and village is so important. So to your point, Hannibal, you are absolutely right. But we have been given this false sense of success if my house is cool. But you got to understand, when you walk out of your house, if everybody around you doesn't have the opportunities that you have, you become a victim. You become the prey.
Yes, sir.
Right? Instead of doing let's be community. Let's be family. If I got it, if I make it over this fence, I'm not just running. When I make it over the fence, I'm about to turn around, put my hand back to bring you with.
You 100% correct. And see, the crazy thing about it is we was operating like this back on the continent, and then we got here, and then the white man gave us this lie about individuality, right? And so now we bought into that to our detriment, when they don't even practice pure individuality. They be helping each other all kinds of crazy ways that if you a part of their church, or if you're a part of their fraternity, or if you're a part of their this and that, but then they get all that community help, but then they still act like, oh, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. No, you are 100% correct. Until we get rid of, and until we teach the mentality of this is, we all in this. Because I tell people all the time, we have community problems that require community solutions. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to avoid racial profiling just by making $1 million a year.
Or graduating from Yale.
None of those individual accomplishments. Just ask Skip Gates when he got arrested trying to get into his house when Obama was the president.
Yeah.
His Harvard affiliation didn't help him. But if Black people approach their existence in the communal way that we learned 1,000 years ago and taught it to our kids and lived according to that, then we think communally and we apply communal solutions to communal problems and then effectuate the change that can insulate us from those kinds of issues. I am tired of being nervous about dealing with law enforcement. I have called the police on people before. I was a Marine. I was a corporal in the Marine Corps, and my daughter was 2 months old, and my brother came up to visit. I was on a naval base training, and a sailor pulled a gun on me and my brother because we was playing ball too late. I called the police. The police came and almost shot us. I'm tired of this. And the thing is, if we applied ourselves, how many of us feel like, I know y'all brothers in here feel a compulsion to give back and to serve your community. You feel something inside that directs you to do this. But a lot of us don't. A lot of us do not. And it's like they don't, many hands make for light work. And it's too many people who are like, I'm good. So, y'all be good. Y'all go to do what I did and y'all be good. No. Dr. Marimba Ani said this: all things are spiritual, and everything you see in the physical is merely a manifestation of the spiritual. So this mentality of civic duty and communal living needs to be the spiritual fuel that we use to inform our physical actions, so that our young people can plug themselves into a strong community that is able to give them the opportunity that they need to feed themselves and do so with dignity.
Got you. So I'm gonna pause you because I want to go to Mendenhall, because Mr. Watkins said something earlier about education being key. All right. Mr. Kemp said we gotta listen. Mr. Thomas said we cannot assume. Mr. Mobley said my parents were great, but they can't teach me what they were never taught themselves. Mr. Hamilton said we gotta not just take the listening and then come up with a plan to execute. I'm gonna go to Mr. Mendenhall because he said something that I believe links in to everything. He went back to entrepreneurship, but in a community setting. When he said it, I felt him say, "Buy the block," and then buy the next block, and then buy the next block. Because Hannibal's kind of changed the whole dynamic of the conversation, right? What he just said is, we already living in Black Wall Street on every block in a Black community. We already living in Black Wall Street. Mr. Mendenhall, brother, so how do we now? You took a young man who was an A student, basketball star, well-respected in school, but he sold drugs to get the things that he liked. And you started turning young men into businessmen. How do we, because while we talk about buying the block, we got some cats who think they own the block. How do we then transform the Moes and the folks who are young to take your approach? How do we get that message to them?
I think one of the things that I do is helping them to realize what true success is. So I come from a professional background. I played professional football. My brother won a Super Bowl. I've been in that life. And, you know, a lot of people think when you get there, that is success and that, you know, you won't have a care in the world. When I got there, I realized I was nothing but a slave. That's real talk. I was nothing but a slave. Everybody controlled my life except me. And no matter if I was better than the person, no matter if this or that, I just realized that other people had control of my fate and my well-being. And I'm like, you know what? After this, I will never have somebody tell me or determine my livelihood. And then I realized too, a lot of kids, they think $1 million is a lot of money. And I'm like, how many of you guys think $1 million is a lot of money? Let me see how fast $1 million can go. And there's a lot of guys in the league, $1 million, right? All right, you get $1 million, they give you a check, they hand you a check. The NFL hands you a check for $1 million. Right then there, 600,000. You know, what you gonna do? Oh, I gotta get my mom a house. Where you wanna go? Oh, Oak Park. All right, how much you paying for? You paying for it cash? Yeah. All right, right there, that's $600,000. Now you in debt. Now you gotta get you a house, right? Now you gotta get you a car. Now you go and check the check. You doing the same thing that your mama and everybody else was doing, except you just have bigger margins. And that's how athletes go broke. That's how it's not really successful once they're done, which is average is 3 years. They're done, and now they don't have nothing to fall back on. And they don't know, like you saying, financial literacy, all these things are very important. So I'm telling them right now is that you need to take ownership. Be an owner, don't be an employee. Be a producer, don't be a consumer. Teaching these concepts and getting it into their heads right now. Like you're saying, how do you mobilize? A lot of these guys don't want to be doing what they're doing. A lot of guys really, at the end of the day, they don't want to be shooting each other. They don't want to be, but they just feel that's the only way they can survive. And if the most powerful thing is friends coming up to their store, like, man, this is y'all store. This is the stuff that y'all produce. I want to be down with that. Money is cool, right? Creating something is cool. That's how you do it. You basically make it cool. You basically make it just like, you know, a gang. You know, you have your Mel Mogul shirts, you have your champ shirts, you have this. It's strength in numbers. People want to be a part of something. And if it's a part of something positive and cool and you making money, man, that's what young people want.
I had a conversation with a young cat who was in a street organization very recently. And I asked him, I said, how much you think the average person in America makes on the job? He said, well, probably about $12, $13 an hour. I said, no. I said, it's a lot of people with boring jobs making way more than that. And I said, how much you think, you know, whoever running the dope around here make and take home themselves? He threw a figure out. I said, I got a buddy in Atlanta who makes $56,000 a month selling herbal remedies online, and he doesn't have to worry about people running up in his spot or the police, wanting bribes and stuff. I said, imagine if you could make all the money that you wanted to make and not have to worry about getting chased by ops or the cops. I said, the thing is, it's out there. A lot of our young people don't realize that there's more disposable income in America than anywhere in the world. There's all these customers. If you can sell a nickel bag, you can sell a mug. And you can use the internet to sell 1,000 mugs a month and make goo gobs of clean money. They don't know that. They don't know that. My business role model sells herbal supplements. He is in Atlanta. He is a cool cat. He's my age. We're in our early 40s, but he looks cool. He's doing his thing. I mean, the young people, if they realize how much bread this dude was making, I'm sure they'd be like, yo, put me on. And this is a tool that we can use to get through to them and get their attention. Because first, you got to get their attention. If you ain't making no money, they don't want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Second, they need to know how many ways that you can make legit money. Even a person who is not NFL quality can make good money coaching or doing, any number of legit things related to the teaching of the skill, right, Brother Walter?
Most definitely.
So, this is the kind of thing, like, you get their attention, you let them know that it is attractive. Okay, you make it attractive. This is a challenge. You undertake that challenge. Okay. And then once you got their attention, pour that water on them seeds and watch it grow.
Exactly. And you gotta let them know, man, like you said, like the numbers is cool. I remember I had a young man, he was about 15, 16 years old. He was out on the block. I'm like, man, how much you make, man? He said, I make $30 off a pack. I was like, how fast a pack go? He said, man, sometimes a half a day, sometimes it could be 8 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're making 8 times 30, you're making $3 an hour, $4 an hour. Like, if you really break the numbers down, it ain't the 80s no more, it ain't the 90s, it's really not that profitable to be doing that, really. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm looking at the numbers like, man, this ain't back then. And it's just like, the numbers just don't make sense. You could sell 2 t-shirts, a t-shirt, and you can make more.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's not just about it's not just about the money in that situation. It's the lifestyle. It's everything that's wrapped around that, right? Yeah. So you talk economics and that's very important. But when you realize, when you talk to a brother and you break down that you're making $3 an hour and he's still saying, man, but this is what it is, right? It's more than that money. It's what he was raised around. It's his friends. It's the things that influence him. It's like when me and Vondell talked about this a long time ago, it's like we have to tap into these young kids to get them to understand that what they feel like makes them or what they feel like is cool, that's not it, right? And so it's like everything that you think makes who you are, you have to really assess that and really realize, man, is this really positive? Is this really what it is? And then if you do that, because that's the honest moment that these kids don't have the mentors, or they don't have the ability to do themselves. But if you can tap into that and really have them assess what it is that they really feel like makes them who they are or makes them cool or whatever. And when they identify like, man, that ain't really what's up, to Hannibal's point, then that's when you got the attention, because you can be the model, right? I'm right here in the pocket in Chicago. I come out, nice car, nice crib, whatever. And so I say, man, who you looking at? I'm looking at Buddy over there. To your point, you know the difference between me and Buddy? I can enjoy my life. I can go off my block. I can travel. That dude has to stay within 4 corners, and it ain't even all day. It's certain times of the day when he can come out or she can come out. But see, me, I got the same car, I got the same clothes. I carry myself with a certain dignity that you feel like Buddy has, but I can move out. And I can bring you in mine and you can be safe. You can ride with me and not have to worry about getting pulled over. You can ride with me and not have to worry about getting shot at. I can show you how you can have it yourself. And so that's the part when we talk about like the disconnect, That's really what it is. We have to model the behavior because we are cool. We talked about this earlier, right? They don't really listen to us because we corny, we old, but it's not. We not. We are what they should be modeling. We are what they should be focusing on and trying to be, and just do us one better. That's the point of the youth, man. I see what you got. I got that. I'm just about to be better. It's called evolution. That's man, the simplest term I could use, man. Is evolution.
Thank you, gentlemen. We are at 8:30.
Yep.
Vondell, I'm gonna ask you to step in because my internet seems to be acting a little flaky right now. I know we have some questions out there. Anything you want to push to the panel before we close out?
One of the brothers, he asked about, what do we need to do to help our youth during this pandemic? And I think, we at the beginning of our summer, as I shared on the onset, going to that prayer vigil yesterday for a 1-year-old shot and killed in Inglewood. Then we had a 3-year-old the day before that in critical condition. We talked about a 13-year-old, right? And it's just too much. And so if we can just kind of talk about what do you guys in the immediate and the short term feel like some solutions and ideas on what we can do to ramp up support for this summer? And that's open to anybody on the panel.
Yeah, give us a quick 40.
I think engaging with y'all, students engaging with themselves. That was one of the questions that I keep asking out with people, like simply, what does it mean to engage with yourself? What do you like about yourself? What do you love about yourself? How do you embrace the idea of making your life better, kind of what everybody else is saying, and defining your idea of success and kind of like defining out an actual goal and having actual conversations with kids. So a right now solution will require us to kind of sacrifice our time and start calling all the young bulls in our phone. What you doing? Oh, yeah, you invest in yourself financially today? Did you get some financial education? Did you invest in yourself spiritually today? Did you read the Bible, or whoever you serve? Did you read a book today? Did you exercise today? Just to keep it even simple, like, yeah. And I think those would be like a quick fix for right now.
Thank you. Hamilton, give us a quick 40.
I think is that interaction with the students. I think I want to see the ability to interact using the virtual platform. I deal with like the older, I'm dealing with college age students. So for them, I want to set up a platform for them to be able to have a dialogue, like have a summit, go through a important text like a book. There's a couple books I'm looking at. I want to do an online summit with them. So that's in the works. For the younger audience, I'm concerned about the math ELA kind of thing. I would love to see a platform, set up to be able to help them develop some of those skills, because they're missing out on a lot of school time. So that's another concern. And then just the interactive side, just going, getting, some of the kids and, taking them to do something, something fun, just keeping that interaction going. I was going to do Block Club Basketball, organization that we have in this area. We've done it twice in the past, and we won. We actually were champions in it. However, it's not going on this year because of the COVID-19. So I'm trying to think of other ways to engage them, and I'm probably going to do something like at a physical location. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think too, safe spaces. I know in Chicago we're in phase 4. We can have people, it might not be big or whatever, but we can organize safe spaces according to COVID standards and things like that, because a lot of times, man, some of these guys need somebody just to talk to and just to, speak. One guy just told me first day I saw him for a while, he was in my class, like, man, I've been living with relative to relative. I've been shot at and robbed in these last 2 weeks. And he just needed that to release that. He ain't told nobody.
Yeah, thank you. Justin.
Absolutely. Everybody has said some vitally important information. To brother, I believe it was Thomas, he said something that was really important. Just keep in contact with the young men. They are in many situations at home, sometimes by themselves, but staving off that isolation, which can be all debilitating when you just are alone with your thoughts. We need to make sure that we keep close contact with them on a consistent basis. So with our program, we're reaching out to them at a minimum, at least one time a week, just to call them, check on them. If there is the capability for a Zoom call, do that, because they need to have that face-to-face interaction. If they're lacking that from other communal resources or other people in their lives, they need to see somebody who actually cares about them, look into their eye and say, I wanted to make sure that you're okay. Let me know that your head is straight, anything you need to talk about. So that one-on-one interaction with those young men is all important during this time, because we have to, as I said, stave off that isolation and start to beat them up in the dark when they're by themselves. So just reach out to anybody in your phone that you know is 18 or under, whatever the age is. Just make sure you reach out to them, stay connected to them during this time.
Got it. Mobley.
To Justin's point, I think a lot of you all hit on some very good points. I think really taking a grassroots level approach and doing the legwork, really getting out there and talking and engaging, as everybody has said. Honestly, Walter, you made a good point. Like having a safe space, I feel like that's part of what I missed. Like I had a lot of mental constipation when I first went away to school and was off on my own. I really didn't have a lot of people, again, that looked like me to confide in or that was concerned about me. So I feel like offering that space to young men is definitely keen to really combating some of these issues. Honestly, Vondell, what you're doing now, even with spaces like this, I mean, I've been a sponge this whole time. I'm not even gonna lie, like I'm extremely honored to be just in the room with all you guys. Like everything that you all are doing and saying has been admirable. So even spaces like this is a start.
Excellent. Carl, and then Hannibal, close us out.
All right, real quick. Be present, be consistent, be authentic, and I'm gonna leave you guys with this: paralysis by analysis. Stop thinking about it and just go out there and do it. That's our main holdup. We want everything to be perfect before we go out there. You know, sometimes we got to just go out there and learn and take our lumps as we go. So, man, that's my thing: consistency, authentic, be present, and then stop with the whole paralysis by analysis. Get out there and do the action, do the work, because they need us. So that's what it is.
Right, Hannibal, close us out, brother.
So I know that when I was mentoring with you all, with Chance the first time around, I remember I had a vision in my mind for how I thought, interactions with young people should go and this, that, and the third. And what I've realized years later is that half the battle is just being there, connected with them and listening to them and supporting them on their own terms. There are lessons that we know they need, but they also have a uniqueness to them that is just a reflection of who they are and when they was born. So we have to realize that, hey, maybe we just need to ask them, like, what do you want? Like, okay, it's summertime, we're not in school. How can I get your attention? You tell me, what do you want to see us do? Let me know what you're interested in and how you might want to go about it. And I'll analyze it and see if it makes sense. And if it does, let's do it. Okay. We gotta, there's a time to impart our old timey way of doing stuff. And then there's a time to say, all right, what you got, young fella? So that's what I put forward. Let us not forget that, people change. The kids born in the 2000s ain't like the kids born in the 80s. That's just what it is.
Got it. Appreciate it. Vondell, I'm going to ask you to take us home in case my system starts tweaking on me again. But I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on tonight. Thank you all for tuning in to Champs Town Hall, Hard Conversations for Necessary Transformations. Vondell.
I just want to say thank you to all of the panelists. What a rich conversation that we all had tonight. We're going to do what Carl just mentioned. So this Saturday, we're going to get out there and we just going to do it. So for those of you who are in the Chicago or Indiana area, or if you're in Wisconsin, Saturday, we are meeting at the Ring of Hope at 12 o'clock p.m. We making it a community event. Why? Is because historically, July 4th weekend is one of the most dangerous weekends in our city of Chicago. And so to combat that, we need to ensure that we take back our communities. We are not afraid. We're not scared to go outside in our communities and engage with our young people, engage with the lady who's sitting on a porch who told us in Greater Grand Crossing that she was afraid to go outside on her own porch. That time should be over with if we come together and say, no, this is our community, and apologize to the young men for not being consistent, not being authentic, for not showing up, and then invite them in and say, let's talk. Let's grill. Here's a hamburger, hot dog. Let's sit down. Let's fellowship. And so I want to give a couple shout outs real quick. Again, shout outs to all of the brothers, Michael, Hannibal, Walter, Jamal, Justin, Marshawn, and Carl, as well as Reverend Briscoe for moderating. Excellent job, soldier. But I want to give a shout out to Pastor Anthony Wright, who today said, yep, you can use my church, Ring of Hope. We're going to come in. I want to shout out to Jamal Cole for giving us the grant and all the great work that he's been doing to mobilize. We have not forgot about what's ahead. So like Oral Roberts would say, don't park here. We cannot afford, as Hannibal mentioned, when we create businesses of opportunities, right? And we get that first rift, then we stop. No, this is the time where we have to be aggressive. We have to be proactive. And so again, Saturday, 12 o'clock p.m., I'm going to be posting the flyer as soon as possible on all the details so you guys can come on out. We're going to have a safe weekend. Hey, fellas, man, it's other ways. Listen to what I'm saying, that we have to communicate. Somebody get mad at you. It's not time for you to pull out that thing and pop them. Hey, brothers, you hungry? You trying to get something to eat? It ain't time to poke somebody and rob somebody. We got brothers out here that actually want to see the success of you as well as our community. And so, again, this Saturday, we're going to work with the Ring of Hope, Pastor Anthony Wright, and we're going to be out in the community for the 4th of July. So, again, thanks, everybody, for tuning in on tonight. And I just want to say this. We never know who's going to rewatch this. A couple weeks ago, we had 5,000 rewatches on this virtual town hall. So whoever's out there listening to this, I want you to share this information because this is a very rich conversation that we had tonight. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great evening. Peace.